Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio. This is the Bible study that's made of 100% pure Bible. It's responsibly handled, locally sourced. Yes, that's right. This is Daily Dose Radio. We're studying today Psalm 89, verses 43 through 45. This section brings to a close, I don't know if we can call this the psalmist's accusation. He's telling the truth. God has done a work. However, he's not quite accurate in his statement there that God has made void the covenant. He's not made void the covenant. He's kept the covenant. The covenant was, you do this, I do this. And if you don't do this, then I do this. You know, that's always the state of a covenant, right? There's always an if-then, and there's always an if-then for both parties, for good and for evil. Well, here's the covenant that God has made. The psalmist didn't read the fine print. Sometimes we don't either. He said, if they, don't keep my commandments, and then we have this long list. In 38 through 42, there were 10 things. Well, now we're going to add to that today. 43 through 45, we have 6 more things. Let me read those verses for you. Psalm 89, verses 43 through 45. Thou hast also turned the edge of his sword, and hast not made him to stand in the battle. Thou hast made his glory to cease, and cast his throne down to the ground. The days of his youth thou hast shortened. Thou hast covered him with shame, Selah. You'll notice verse 43 says, you have also. Oh, so we're going to get more of this. You have done such and such. So we began up there in 38, cast off and abhorred. And in 42, set up the right hand of his enemies. And now we come to 43, and also, you've turned the edge of his sword. Of course, we understand the meaning of that, don't we? It means that, David wasn't going to win the battle, or his people, his sons. And what a horrible thing to say about David, or about his generations, that they would lose in the battle. Thou hast not made him to stand in the battle. Of course, we know that it was the Lord that made David to stand in all of his battles. You've made his glory to cease, and cast his throne down to the ground. Notice how this compares with verse 39. You've made his glory to cease and cast his throne to the ground. There in 39, it says, you have profaned his crown by casting it to the ground. So not only his crown is on the ground, but his throne is on the ground. Everything that speaks of leadership, that speaks of authority, has been taken away from the sons of David here. The days of his youth you have shortened. You have covered him with shame. So life is short. Life is filled with shame. There's no longer any authority. His crown, his throne, his glory, all of that is gone. Everything that we would think makes up, the whole point of being in charge, being a king, reigning on a throne, all of that has been stripped from him. And why? Well, we have to go back to verse 31 and look at verse 31 again. Because there he says, if they break my statutes. Who's the they? These are the kings of Judah, those who proceed from David in a normal generation of humans. I will visit their transgression with the rod and their iniquity with stripes. We didn't realize just how full those words, the meaning of those words were, until we get here to verses 38 through 45, because now we understand it. Then we have the Selah here at the end of this section, and the Selah creates a serious break, which really changes the direction of the psalm, because now in verses 46 through 48, we're going to have a series of 7 questions. Actually, no, through 49, we're going to have a series of 7 questions that the psalmist is going to ask the Lord. So he sets us up. Everything that has led up to this point sets us up for the questions and the requests in the last section. So you don't want to miss tomorrow and Friday's broadcast. All right, I'll see you then on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.